In the late 19th century, a series of gruesome murders in London's Whitechapel district shook the city to its core. These brutal killings, marked by their horror, have left an enduring mystery in their wake. The identity of the infamous figure responsible for these crimes has eluded investigators for generations. Who was Jack the Ripper? Jack the Ripper was an unidentified serial killer active in the largely impoverished areas in and around the Whitechapel district of London in 1888. The name is taken from a letter by someone claiming to be the murderer that was disseminated in the media. The killer is believed to have murdered at least 5 women, all of whom were prostitutes, by inflicting severe mutilations. The case has become one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in English criminal history. In the case of the killer, there were indications of a narrow escape. The presence of police patrols in the area and the timing of the murders suggest that the perpetrator narrowly avoided apprehension during these horrific crimes. Despite the heightened police presence in Whitechapel at the time, the killer managed to evade capture, leaving authorities and the public in a state of shock and frustration. Additionally, there were numerous missed opportunities for witnesses to observe the murders as they occurred. Several individuals were in close proximity to the murder site, yet they failed to notice anything suspicious or raise the alarm. These missed chances to apprehend the killer added to the sense of mystery and frustration surrounding the investigation, as it seemed the perpetrator was skilled at avoiding detection even when surrounded by potential witnesses. The combination of narrowly escaping the police and the failure of witnesses to intervene further deepened the enigma of Jack the Ripper, allowing the killer to continue their reign of terror in the dark alleys of Whitechapel. A bloodstained piece of cloth, part of Catherine Edow's apron, was discovered blocks away from the murder site, and it is believed to be discarded by the killer. Above the discarded apron piece, a cryptic message was scrawled on the wall. "The Jewess are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." This message, with its uncertain meaning and authorship, has fueled speculation about its connection to the murders or its intent to incite suspicion against the Jewish community. Days before the murders of Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, letters emerged claiming responsibility for the killings and dropping ominous hints about future crimes. As a result of the letters' publication, a wave of imitations flooded in. Notably, one of these letters sent to George Lusk contained a chilling addition: an actual human kidney, suspected to be a gruesome relic from Catherine Eddowes, further adding to the macabre mystique surrounding the case. The murders of Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly are part of a series of crimes attributed to the unidentified serial killer. These murders are collectively known as the Canonical Five and are most likely to be linked directly to the same perpetrator due to the similarities in the modus operandi. Mary Ann Nichols, whose body was discovered on August 31st, 1888, was the first of the Canonical Five victims. She was found on Bucks Row, Whitechapel. Her throat was cut twice and the lower part of her abdomen was partly ripped open by a deep, jagged wound. The severity of the mutilation indicated that the killer had a strong physical capability and perhaps some anatomical knowledge. Annie Chapman was murdered on September 8, 1888, and her body was found near a doorway in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, Spitalfields. Like Nichols, her throat was severed by 2 deep cuts. Her abdomen was entirely open, with a section of the flesh from her stomach being placed upon her left shoulder and another section of skin and flesh plus small intestines being removed and placed above her right shoulder. Elizabeth Stride was killed on September 30th, 1888. Her body was discovered in Duckfield's yard off Burner Street. Although her throat was slashed, the lack of further mutilations, which had become a signature element of the Ripper killings, led to some uncertainty whether her murder was the work of the same killer. The uncertainty was compounded by the fact that another murder, that of Catherine Eddowes, occurred on the same night, about 45 minutes later and within a mile of where Stride was found. Catherine Eddowes was also murdered in the early morning of September 30th, 1888. Her body was found in Mitre Square in the City of London. Eddowes had her throat slashed and her abdomen was ripped open by a long, deep, jagged wound. The killer had also mutilated her face and removed some of her internal organs, including her kidney and part of her womb. Mary Jane Kelly is considered to be the Ripper's final victim, murdered on November 9, 1888. Her gruesomely mutilated body was discovered lying on the bed in the single room where she lived at 13 Miller's Court off Dorset Street, Spitalfields. The severity of her injuries was horrific. Her throat was severed down to the spine, the entire abdomen was emptied of its organs, her heart was missing, and the room was covered in blood, indicating that the murder was likely committed there. Among the numerous suspects and theories that emerged during the investigation, a few have drawn particular attention. Recent scrutiny has fallen upon Charles Cross, the man who discovered Mary Ann Nichols' body, with suspicions regarding his potential involvement in the case. Adding to the intrigue, Charles Cross's daily routine to work coincided with the locations of the murders, and his mother lived nearby, raising further doubts about his role in the events. Despite his claims, a lack of employment records and the fact that he remained in East London until his death have cast a shadow of uncertainty over his background and activities during that fateful period. Joseph Barnett's connection to the case has raised suspicions. He lost his job around the same time as the murders began, leading some to speculate about a possible connection between his employment status and the onset of the killings. One theory suggests that Barnett might have had a motive rooted in guilt and concern for Mary Jane Kelly. He could have been driven by distress over Kelly's return to prostitution, possibly prompting him to commit the murders as a means of scaring other prostitutes off the streets. In terms of his alibi, Barnett claimed that he parted amicably with Kelly on the evening before her murder, and he stated that he spent the night playing cards at home until midnight. However, given the timeline of Kelly's presumed death in the early hours of November 9th, there remains a window of opportunity for Barnett to potentially return to Miller's Court, casting a shadow of suspicion on his involvement in the case. Francis Tumblety, an American physician known for his eccentricity and his dubious medical practices, has emerged as a noteworthy suspect in the Jack Ripper case. His background and actions during the autumn of 1888 have raised suspicions and fueled debates among investigators and theorists. Tumblety's criminal history includes accusations of attempting to induce a miscarriage and brief implication in the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, hinting at a troubled past that adds to the intrigue surrounding him. His dinner party allegations are particularly unsettling, as he was rumoured to have hosted a men-only dinner party where he openly expressed a strong hatred for women. His display of jars containing female reproductive organs in his office only deepened suspicions of his dark inclinations. Tumblety's arrest and release in London, albeit for unrelated charges of gross indecency, occurred just 2 days before Mary Jane Kelly's murder. This timing raised eyebrows and prompted questions about his potential connection to the Ripper murders. His presence in London adds to the intrigue surrounding his activities and whereabouts during that crucial period. Despite his arrest and pursuit by detectives, Tumblety managed to avoid capture, leaving his ultimate fate and legacy in the case shrouded in mystery. There remain skepticisms about claims regarding Tumblety's extreme misogyny and the collection of body parts. Some believe that these assertions may have been exaggerated or distorted over time. Tumblety's physical description, characterized by his age, height, and flamboyant attire, makes it unlikely that he could have gone unnoticed in Whitechapel, adding complexity to the puzzle. Much of what is known about Tumblety is based on rumours and his own depictions, contributing to the enduring enigma surrounding his potential involvement in the case. Aaron Kosminski emerged as a suspect in the Jack Ripper case due to claims made by Assistant Commissioner Robert Anderson. According to Anderson, the Ripper had been identified as a low-class Polish Jew who was confined in an asylum. The case against Kosminski primarily relies on the assertions made by Anderson and Swanson, who alleged that a witness had identified Kosminski as a suspect but was unwilling to testify due to their shared Jewish heritage. Another aspect of the investigation delves into DNA evidence, specifically a controversial piece involving a shawl that was supposedly found at Edel's crime scene. This yielded mitochondrial DNA, matching both Edel's and Kosminski's descendants. However, this DNA evidence is not sufficient to conclusively incriminate or exonerate Kosminski. Kosminski's life was marked by mental health issues, and he spent a considerable portion of his life in psychiatric care. He eventually passed away in 1919. These details further complicate his potential role as a suspect in the case. Dr. Thomas Bond's controversial criminal profile played a pivotal role. Bond's analysis described Ripper as a middle-aged man lacking scientific or anatomical knowledge. However, the accuracy of this profile remains a subject of debate given the absence of concrete evidence. The complexity of the case was exacerbated by the inconsistent witness descriptions. Multiple individuals reported seeing suspicious activities or persons near the murder scenes, but their varying accounts made it challenging for investigators to establish a clear profile of the Ripper. Numerous theories regarding the killer's identity have emerged. Some speculate that the Ripper may have been a woman, challenging the conventional notion of a male perpetrator. Other theories suggest that the killer possessed at least some level of anatomical knowledge, given the precision of the mutilations. Despite advances in forensic science and controversial DNA findings, considerable doubt and ongoing debate persists regarding the elusive identity of Jack the Ripper. The case remains one of the most enduring mysteries in criminal history, with experts, historians, and amateur sleuths continuing to discuss various theories and suspects. With an array of suspects, varying degrees of ambiguity, and a multitude of theories, his identity remains elusive, lost to history among the countless faces of Victorian London. Who was Jack the Ripper?